Thank you for tuning in to the Merlin Crypto Market Update located on the X app. I'm Abs, your host and Senior Engagement Officer at Merlin, and we hope you enjoyed this episode from our Merlin X Spaces. Remember, you can catch us live every other Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on the X app at Get Merlin Crypto. If you want to take your crypto tracking to the next level, don't miss out on our free 30-day trial at merlincrypto.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
All right, guys, we are going to get this show started. We have our man Abs in the house. I will be kicking it over to him. Welcome to our Merlin Spaces tonight. And Abs, hopefully you're doing well. The floor is yours, my friend.
Hey, everybody. How's it going tonight? Johnny, I just want to test the audio really quick because I'm in the car. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. We can hear you sounding good.
Beautiful. Well, first of all, I want to give a special thank you to everybody who survived the largest crash in crypto history over these last couple of months. Donald Trump came out earlier today and said they've made some serious progress on the Clarity Act. I'm sure we're going to be discussing that later on in the episode. We're also going to be talking about some of the interesting price action we've seen for many of our favorite altcoins. Like a lot of people, they're focused on XRP, but if you look across the crypto space right now, it is just red candles across the board. Cardano, sub 30 cents, Solana, teetering around $100. So I'm looking forward to getting into that, Johnny. But before we do any of that, I want to ask you how you're feeling, and then we'll dive right into it.
Well, Abs, I'm feeling great. Like you said, there is a lot of red out there, folks. So please keep your windshields clean. But Abs, no, overall, I'm doing good, pal. I'm hanging in there. It was a long, busy day. It's been a long, busy week. But, at the end of the day, to be honest, I know it's going to sound crazy. I know people are like, what the hell are you talking about, Johnny? But I'm actually excited because you got to understand where we're headed. We're headed into a space where we know the president, he's talking about it today, just this week, right? About how he's going to pass the Clarity Act, wants to make that happen. And if that's going to happen, well, we're going to see a lot of liquidity coming into the space. In days like right now, this uncertainty where everybody feels horrible, like Warren Buffett said, buy when you want to puke, my friend. I'll tell you what, right now, I feel like puking.
That's a great point, Johnny. But what's funny is that a lot of times, obviously, we're talking about Merlin. We talk about exit plans, when's to take profit, all things of that nature. But what I think we should really emphasize now, especially because it feels like we're in a bear market here, is entry plans. The same way that you dollar cost average into these projects, you dollar cost average out. And I think there's a lot of people out there who entered this project. They were buying $3 XRP. They were buying $2.50 XRP. And they're looking at the price chart today and they see $1.50 and they're in panic mode. When I think the reality is that if they see it as an opportunity, it could be one of the greatest entry points that we're given as XRP investors. Now, forget about catching the exact bottom, because none of us are going to do that. We're not going to catch the bottom. We're not going to sell the top. We don't even try to make that a goal here in the Merlin community. What we do try to do is set you guys up for success. And one of the things that we know for sure is an asset like XRP just 4, 5, 6 months ago was trading above $3. An asset like Bitcoin was trading above $100,000 even just I think it was in December previously. We reached as high as $100,000 once again. We were trading at 126 in September. These are the exact same assets. Now trading at a huge discount. And I know I see some of our daily listeners, like shout out to Thomas. We see you out there. All of our veterans will know that oftentimes in these red, dark moments where everybody's uncertain and it looks like the sky is falling, these are the moments that we look back on and say, dang it, I wish I grabbed some more. And so I would just encourage everybody to kind of embody that. Even if you don't have a bunch of money sitting on the sidelines ready to invest in crypto projects, the bright side is that also this, we are well into this correction now. This correction is not just kicking off. It's not just starting. This isn't the beginning. We are now 4.5 months into nonstop negative price action for the crypto community. And we know if the Clarity Act's approved, Johnny, and we're correct about this ISM business cycle narrative, the whole game can change in a single headline. And so I know I said a lot there, Johnny. I'm going to give you a chance to comment, and then we can break down some.
Well, Abs, you're 100% right. I mean, that is probably what's going to happen, and everybody's going to forget about this fear and uncertainty and puke moment that they want to have right now. But I'll be honest with you, when I turn on when I open my Merlin account every day and I look at my account and I see, XRP at $1.50, some people may panic. Their stomach drops out for them. They're showing, oh, my God, my life. You know what I do? I look at it and go, shit, where else can I get more money? I'm looking around, right? What else? And the cool thing is, if you remember, back when XRP was $3, $3.30, and actually, you remember, I literally said it on the air. Like, I'm selling at $3.33. That was one of my exit targets, and I sold. And I caught a shit ton of grief from our audience. You're an idiot, Johnny. Why are you selling? This is when everybody was feeling great and we were on the upside. Remember, Abs? And I said, no, man, you could see the Fibonacci's. The Fibs were calling that we were getting close to a resistance level around 360. And sure enough, it hit it and we came crashing down, right? And selling at 330 was now genius because now I'm able to buy back at $1.50 or $1.90 at those different levels. And that's why it's so important, Abs. We talk about all the time. Got to have an exit plan on the way up, but you're right. You also got to have an entry plan on the way down. And again, look at the Fibs. And right now, these are certainly showing levels. Again, we're not financial advice. It's not financial advice. Everybody's got to do what they got to do. But it certainly feels like if you're thinking like, I want to get in or I want to DCA in, right now, definitely feels like the right time because of what we just talked about. Everybody wants to puke, right? Feels terrible. We know that if we kind of put our own feelings aside and we just kind of get through the price, like don't look at the price, but look at what's happening, which is the hardest thing for people to do. But if you actually look at what's happening, and is got their pedal to the metal, Abs. They're doing everything. You report this all the time on Good Evening Crypto, right? You're always talking about look at all the things that are happening behind the scenes, blockchains that are getting put in place. The Clarity Act being worked on, trying to get through. There's one big sticking point. We know the banks are fighting it hard, and we'll probably talk a little bit about that tonight. But when we get through that, again, that's probably the last roadblock. We're going to see this space finally be able to innovate like we haven't seen actually in its entire existence.
You bring up a really good point too, Johnny, which is like there's been this whole debate about how banks are trying to prevent the Clarity Act from getting approved because of stablecoin yield. And me and you, we read through an example a couple of hours ago when we were recording our episode. And one of the things that's obvious right now is there's not a clear-cut, no damage solution here, right? If the Clarity Act gets passed and the banks get to control crypto, great, right? Great for the banks, screws over people like us. If for some reason crypto exchanges like me and you are vouching for, and I don't want to speak for you, Johnny, so feel free to kind of elaborate, but if companies like Coinbase are able to offer a larger yield on US dollar deposits than traditional banks, well, what does that mean? It means all the smart people, the 56, 55 people out there listening right now, well, those rational, smart people are going to say, why am I going to put my money in JP Morgan where I can get 3% when I can take it, put it in a stable coin, have it on Coinbase, and earn 9%? Right? So that is what the banks are acknowledging publicly. And we're even going as far to see U.S. politicians come out. I forget the guy's name, Patrick McHenry, I believe it is. He came out today and was like, guys, behind the scenes, banks are terrified. They are very, very nervous about the idea that these crypto companies would be able to compete with U.S. dollar deposits because that would destroy the entire banking model as we know it. And I know a lot of people out there are like, down with the banks are bad, horrible. The reality is they control America. Right? And that's kind of the mic drop moment. Shout out to the emails that we all saw. The truth of the matter is there's a large cabal that controls the banking system that is also fighting for control of the crypto system. And I think that battle, it hasn't been won and it hasn't been lost yet. We're kind of witnessing that play out before our very eyes. Now, why does this matter to us, right? The reason that I'm even bringing this up is because what did Patrick McHenry say earlier? The banks are willing to capitulate because they understand the power of the industry. My belief is there's going to be, it's kind of like the I Trust Capital, Kevin, the CEO said when he came on our show, Johnny, he said a great lawsuit in a settlement, both parties kind of feel like they got screwed. That's probably what's going to happen here with the Clarity Act, where the banks aren't going to get exactly what they want. The crypto exchanges aren't going to get exactly what they want, but we are going to get some sort of a crypto regulatory bill here that provides guidance, and the industry will flourish and both sides will end up making money. Any thoughts on that, Johnny?
Well, Abs, actually, you nailed it right on the head in terms of both. The banking industry is scared to death, 100%. Think about it. It's like kind of like, let's say I'll give an example. You own a gas station, right? When you're selling gas, you're happy, you're making money, everything's beautiful, right? And then all of a sudden, somebody comes up and invents a solar car, which means you never, ever, ever need to buy gas again because, well, your car runs off the sun. So it's just drive the car and it goes, Could you imagine what the oil industry and the gas station industry would do, Abs, if a solar car was out there? That's exactly what the banks are facing right now. The way banks work is they take in our money and then they're able to loan out 10 times or 9 or 10 times the money they take in, which means if they bring in, $1 million, they can loan out $10 million. And so it's like, well, wait a minute. So their whole lifeblood of survival is taking in money. Well, if you can now earn 5% at Coinbase and 0.1% at at the bank, well, who the hell's ever going to put their money in the bank? Nobody. So you could see why the banks are scared to death. They are losing their lifeblood of money coming in if this Clarity Act passes the way Brian Armstrong wants it, right? Which would be good for us as consumers. We would, the bottom line is the banks are saying, you know what? No, sorry, you guys can't loan your money out 5% because we don't want to loan out 5%. We want to loan it at 0.1. So then we can make all the money. And so because we want to do that, now we're not going to let you do that. So it's kind of messed up, right? But it is what it is because the banks control everything, and the banks are going to have a say in it because they pay all the senators, and the senators aren't going to vote for it unless the banks tell them they can't. So that's just the reality of our system, right? So do I think we're going to get there? Yes, I think we're going to get a bill that's going to not be what either side wants. It'll be more what the banks want than what the crypto guys want. But the crypto guys know that if they don't vote for it, if they don't capitulate, they don't get the bill at all. And guess what? That means the banks just keep going along, getting fat, dumb, and happy, and the crypto industry staggers and goes sideways, and then maybe even fiddles out and dies if you get another president that doesn't want to support it. So the reality is that the crypto industry has no choice. They've got to accept it. I think they'll find a happy medium.
One quick caveat, Johnny, is that there's actually an amendment in the Genius Act, and this is really important for stablecoin yield, where third parties, even though the exchanges may not allowed to be directly bearing interest and paying that to investors, there is a third-party workaround in the legislation that allows for some of these crypto exchanges to offer a yield. And I'm not maybe the perfect person to answer that question, but I have done the research and I figured out, because I had the same concern you did, which is, okay, banks are going to do everything they can to not get the Clarity Act passed because that would just benefit the banks, right? Then the banks win. Well, it turns out that's not entirely the case, because in the Genius Act, these companies can take the stablecoin yield, run it through a third party, and pay it out to investors. So it's a little bit of a nuanced thing. I wish there was somebody here who knew more about the legislation to kind of dive into that. But I do just want to make that point that it's not like if the banks don't get the Clarity Act, then they get to control the industry. Actually, they're not thrilled about the way the Genius Act was structured. So it leaves a little bit of an open door for there to be some valid battlegrounds here. Like the crypto market does have a little bit of leverage on that front. So just to provide some optimism.
Yeah, no, and you're right, Abs. I know that the provision's in there, but the reality is it's nowhere. That's nowhere. That's going to be a very minimal threat to the banks, and more importantly, it doesn't do crap for like somebody like Coinbase. And that's what Coinbase is arguing is, hey, we don't want that money sitting on somebody else's third-party platform. We want it sitting on our platform so that if the money's here, guess what? How does Coinbase make money? On transactions, fees. They need the money on their platform, and they can't do that through that third-party provision because the money's now sitting on a third party somewhere. So that's why I think the banking industry was okay with it, because they knew that the main players, it's like it's not really going to hurt them. So, but what Brian was proposing, trying to get it where all the platforms can offer it. Now you're going to have the biggest exchanges, crypto exchanges in the world, competing with the banks, and the banks saw the writing on the wall if that were to happen. So I don't think we're gonna see that. But anyway, I do think at the end of the day, the industry will move forward. I do think that they will have to find a happy medium somewhere in the middle. When and I hear we're getting close, I guess they're going to do it so some kind of reward system. There'll be like reward yields that you can get. At least that's one of the proposals I had seen a while ago. So we'll see if that goes through, Abs. But to me, I just think at the end of the day, the sooner these guys can get this resolved, the better the industry can move on. But in the meantime, while they're flip-flopping back and forth trying to figure this out, and the industry's just dangling in the wind, and then you're getting the Epstein news and emails and all, this is just complete. This almost kind of reminds me, it's different, but it's the same when we had the FTX news and the whole market got scared to death, right? Remember? And the whole market crashed. Bitcoin went as low as 15,000. Okay. And what was happening? BlackRock and the big boys were buying while everybody else was puking. I feel the same exact things happening exactly right now as we speak. So, I just encourage everybody to kind of think about the game and how these things are played. And you kind of got to do the opposite of what your gut is telling you. It's hard to do, I know. But I mean, for us, Abs, we've retrained our brains, so we kind of know you want to buy when things are going down, even though it feels horrible to do so. But that's actually the confirmation that you're doing the right thing. By the way, guys, if you want to speak, we're not here to speak me and Abs. We'd love to hear from you guys as well. Please raise your hand and we'll bring you up to speak if you got a question or a comment.
Johnny, one more quick point on the Clarity Act is that even after listening to the White House executives come out of that meeting and really discuss like, okay, this is what's holding up the bill. We've got the banks advocating for the stable coins. We've got the crypto companies trying to prevent a monopoly on stablecoin yield. But the reality is that the executives that came out of that meeting said they are more confident than ever that the Clarity Act gets approved. So I have no idea what would lead them to believe that is the case right now with what we know as regular retail investors, just reading the articles, observing what they're saying. But you heard Patrick Witt, who's the executive director for the White House Crypto Council. He came out literally today at the Ondo Crypto Summit, which I think is in Denver, somewhere like that. And he was sitting on stage and he said, I'm willing to go on record. I think we get the Clarity Act by April 3rd. Then you had Patrick McHenry come out and say, I think we get it before Labor Day, which I think is sometime in late May. So what do you think, Johnny? What does that mean to you? If this is the moment where we finally get the Clarity Act and it happens in April and we trend down and sideways, we're looking at a $60,000 Bitcoin, a $1,800 Ethereum, a $1.20 XRP at the time. Let's say the Clarity Act gets implemented. People think that's going to be a flip of the switch moment. I don't think so. I think it's actually going to be an onboarding process for the next 6, 8, 12 months where big companies start to invest, they start to get exposure, they start to work on real world use cases where they're actually running businesses on chain. It's not just about speculating on price chart going forward. That doesn't mean we all get rich overnight. And that's something that retail investors should really embody. Understand that what we've learned over these last couple of months, this is going to be a little bit of a longer journey than the average retail investor would like. Johnny, any correlation you see there between the Clarity Act and the Telecom Act from 96?
Oh man, massive correlation in terms of in my gut what I think is going to happen. There was a big battle back then in '96 because it was illegal. It was literally illegal to innovate against telecom companies. You could not create the internet in '96 without going to jail or without being fined. You couldn't do it. It was illegal. And then the Telecom Act finally got passed, which said, oh, hey, you can innovate in the space now. And then you know what happened. I show you my chart every year, right? 97, 98, 99, biggest bull run in technical history in tech stocks. It was huge. It was massive. And I can't help but feel a very similar thing is going to happen when we get the Clarity Act. And I don't think it's going to be a flip of the switch that everybody talks about. Being a technology guy, I can tell you right, that's not how things work. Technology takes a long time to develop, to test, implement, and then get the whole world. Man, just trying to get one company to launch technology. We've been working on technology apps right now at the company I work for. I'm not going to say the name publicly, but 12 years I've been working on this technology, and we're launching it now. We're launching it this year. 12 years in the making, okay? So I know how long it takes to develop technology. It's not a flip of the switch. It's a gradual kind of growth thing. Now, is there a speculation period where a bunch of money comes in and it feels like a flip of the switch? We may get that. We may get some version of that. And, you know, it ain't going to be like today you're at $1 and then tomorrow you wake up and it's 10,000. I'm not saying that. But could we be at $1.50 today? And when a spec of the bull run, could we be at 8, 6, 7, $10? Yeah, I think something like that could be very possible, right? When we think of that. But to me, when you listen today to Patrick and I guess they're both Patricks, they talked about the Clarity Act, and one had said April 3rd. I think when he was throwing out that number that his birthday was April 3rd, I think he was kind of more joking. But the other hat, Patrick McHenry, he said by Memorial Day, which is in May, and I think that is probably more realistic of when we're going to get this thing. Just given everything we're going through right now, with everything that's happening. I think we will. I think that's probably a more realistic time frame that we get it. And then that would mean another banging summer, probably, because if we do get it, then that means now here's the next thing that's going to happen, Abs. Companies now say, okay, good. You finally told us the rules of the road. Now they're going to pick up now the companies are going to get their legal attorneys and they're going to spend weeks, months, maybe even going through the rules and understanding the law, what it means, what they can do and what they can't do. And then when they understand that, then they'll go through and they'll say, okay, now we know how to play in this space. Now let's start investing. Let's start putting money where our mouths are. And that's when you start seeing liquidity start coming into the space. And now that's still smart money, institutional money, right? And then all of a sudden, they'll start kind of slowly, that news will break out there at some point when they're all in where they want to be. And then that's when they'll get retail all excited and retail money will come in and start pumping this thing, to limits above, again, to euphoria level. And that's where, guys, this is where you want to have an exit plan. When this stuff starts happening, and this is brought to you by Merlin, the smartest way to attract your crypto, you're going to want to have exit targets in place, ready to go, so that when things start going crazy and haywire, and I know it doesn't feel that way right now. You're sitting there going, Johnny, why the hell are you talking to me about exit strategies? We're at $1.50. I get it. I understand that. But the fibs are the fibs, and the fibs don't lie. And you can still build your exit plans. And oh, by the way, Abs, So breaking news here. We have a new feature upgrade coming out in Merlin this month, and it's going to make it where you will be able to create an exit strategy with literally, I don't want to say 2 clicks because it's maybe 3, but it's going to be so easy, Abs. A baby could do it. That's how easy it's going to be. Because our biggest complaint has been, hey, I don't know how to pick exit strategies, or exit targets. Well, don't worry, guys. We invented a new way to do it in Merlin with just a couple clicks, and boom, within 10, 12, 15 seconds, you'll have your exit targets set up. So we're excited about it. Can't wait to launch that thing. It'll be coming soon. If you're a Merlin user, you're going to get 30 days free to try it. If you're not a user yet, sign up. You'll also get 33 days to try it for free because we give it to everybody. But with that said, Abs, yeah, I'm excited for the future. I know it feels horrible right now, but that's why I'm excited about it. And I just realized we lost Abs. I'm going to see if I can bring him back up as a host. Give me a second.
Testing, testing. Thank you, Johnny Crypto. I don't know what happened there. Changed the Wi-Fi, got booted from the spaces. Just want to check that you can still hear me here. Can you hear me?
Yep, you're good and you're back. I don't know if you heard what I said, but
I did. I heard the whole thing, and I think you make a bunch of great points, not only about the exit strategy, but just again, people underestimating how long it may take before we're actually in an environment where blockchain products are really being used and not just being speculated on for what the future value could be. Now, there's major selling going on with Bitcoin, and I was looking this up in the background. A new report came out today, and I want to get this confirmation correct here, where it appears that Galaxy Digital had a single client that sold $9 billion worth of Bitcoin because they were afraid of quantum computing. They think that quantum computing could completely destroy everything that Bitcoin has created up until this point. Now, I don't find myself in that category, but somebody with $9 billion is definitely smarter than myself. And if they're concerned about this narrative, this is a whole nother narrative that crypto investors have to kind of factor into everything that's going on right here. And you know what's really interesting, Johnny Crypto, is that we're being hit right now with every single fearful narrative that you could think of. We don't have regulation, banks attacking crypto prices crashing, ETF outflows, quantum computing, all these different narratives. And the one thing that's absolutely certain, crypto's here to stay. That's just the reality of the situation. Now, we don't know how valuable each blockchain is going to be when it's all said and done. We don't know the value of the tokens. But we know broadly, just from all the adoption, all the use cases, all the endorsements that we've seen from large companies, blockchain technology at large is going to play a major role in the American economy. And we're all here before that moment. So if we do end up picking just a couple of right assets, a couple of correct assets that receive real adoption, real companies, real use cases, and they survive for the long haul, well, that could be a great opportunity for people to have exuberant amounts of wealth and walk into this next 5-10 years feeling much better than they did about the previous 5. Now it's really
Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead, Johnny. Sorry.
You just literally nailed out why I'm so excited about the future, because you just described all the reasons why everybody's nervous right now. And every time we have a FUD moment like this, you get all these multiple narratives stacked on top of each other, because that's how the game is played, folks. The elites know this. They know how to play you on us, because I'm part of you all, right? They know how to play us on our emotions, Abs. They know we are going to react a certain way given a certain type of news. And that's what they do to drive us in one direction or the other. Now, I want to touch on the thing you just talked about. You know, this argument of quantum computing has been out there for a while. So this ain't like brand new news that hit the wire today. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh my God, I didn't know about that. And now I do. No. We've been talking about this narrative for years now. And they're still saying we're 5 to 10 years away from that. But let me just say this. Whenever a technology comes out, okay, like that's new and innovative and can destroy something. Well, you know what also happens? So just as quantum computing may be able to crack the code for Bitcoin, it will also be the ability to be able to create new code that you can fork it to not crack the code. In other words, it'll not as much as it can crack something, it can also protect something. So my point is, there's always a counter to something that comes out that's good or bad. So yes, I believe that, yeah, we will someday have quantum computing, but then there'll be something better that will defeat quantum computing, or there'll be a new way to create, cryptology that can go against that to block it. So I'm not worried about it. There will always be a solution. That's my 8 cents.
I agree, Johnny. I want to hear from you guys as well. If there's anybody out there who'd like to get up here and join the conversation, please request to speak. We are 30 minutes into the spaces, guys. We are going to be wrapping it up fairly soon. But I think, Johnny, one of the things that we know for sure is that retail investors also, and this is just the truth, then most of the time they get it wrong. And I think every single retail investor, if you just polled the average crypto investor right now, 99 out of 100 would say crypto prices are going much lower. And I may even find myself in that category. I may even be one of these people who also believes that crypto prices are going lower over these next 6 weeks, 8 weeks, maybe even 12 weeks. But if you zoom out and you say, hey, where are we going to be after 12 months, 15 months, 18 months? I think we're going to be far exceeding where we're sitting right now. And it's going to be off the back of the Clarity Act. Now, again, if you're just joining the conversation, we did break down. Earlier today, we got a big announcement out of Patrick Witt and Patrick McHenry. One of them predicted April 3rd, Donald Trump would be signing the Clarity Act. Patrick McHenry predicted that by May 26th, I believe, he thought Donald Trump would have the Clarity Act signed and implemented inside the United States. That's why me and Johnny are focusing on this, because we have to have realistic expectations. If people think that the Clarity Act gets signed and crypto prices go parabolic, I think they're going to be disappointed. So I want to set that preface up right here, right now. When the Clarity Act is signed, that's the gun to begin the race, right? The gun goes off, people start running. Doesn't mean the race is over. It may even be considered a marathon as opposed to some short-term race, Johnny. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, absolutely. Rightfully so. When the gun is fired off, all that means is now the attorneys get to read through 300 or 600 or 900 pages of rules to figure out what it means. Then they've got a structure. They've got to then take 3, 6, 900 pages of stuff and go figure out what it means and doesn't mean. And then they've got to translate that into something that the organization can decipher and understand. And then the organization goes, oh, okay, now we know how to play. Now we know how the rules of the road. And now we can go figure out how to play. And then the money starts moving in. So there will be a delayed reaction. Like the gun's going to fire apps, but nobody moves out the gate. It's gonna be like snails, like turtles. They're just coming out there, one little paw, one little leg after the other, and they're just crawling out that gate very, very slowly. So I personally am not expecting to see things, jump overnight when we get the Clarity Act. I'm expecting just the opposite. Will we get maybe a little bit of run into it, like a silent run of seeing prices going up when we're hearing news that the Clarity Act might get passed? Yeah, we may get one of those kind of sell the news kind of things, buy the rumor, sell the news kind of thing. I think that may happen, but I don't think that's going to be anywhere near a massive speculative bull run that I'm anticipating that, we saw in 96, 97, 98. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, Abs. And I don't see anybody raising their hand here. Guys, if you want to speak, raise your hand. We'd love to hear from you. If not, I can't believe we already put 30 minutes in, Abs. Holy crap. That was quick. Oh, we're ready to wrap.
That was quick. One, Johnny, we talked about what would be the big differentiator here when you think about which crypto projects are most successful and which crypto projects go on to die. And I think that what we're learning here with the Clarity Act is that there may be a great consolidation of wealth in the crypto space where we go from having 10,000, 12,000, 25,000 projects to instead we have 250 legit real projects where you look at real businesses, real world use cases, tokenized assets, all those things. And then you just have a total degenerate market, for lack of a better word. And that might not be the best kind of way to describe it, but it's just the truth of the matter that I think there's going to be most of these tokens that cease to have real world use cases. There's going to be maybe 25, maybe 50. And I see some other people out there who, guys, let me know if you feel the same way. And then everything else is just going to die. And that's just kind of the truth. If I could make it a different way, if I could design it a different way, I probably would. I've obviously made a lot of jokes about Litecoin over the last couple of years. If there was one coin that I would say should probably cease to exist, it'd be that one because of their marketing team. But on a more serious note, I do think that this market is going to go from 25,000 tokens down to about 200 legitimate projects. And Brad Garlinghouse said the exact same thing. So why does that matter to us? The reason that I'm even saying that is because that means that the crypto projects that survive are going to have this exponential growth from that consolidation of wealth. So maybe instead of this market being $5 trillion across 20,000 projects, maybe it's $7 trillion across 250 projects. And maybe of those 250, there's 25 that constitute 55% of that total market cap. So that's kind of where my head's at. I'm waiting to be proven wrong on that. Maybe I will be proven wrong. I have no idea. But I do think the more that I look at this market and where it's kind of going objectively, there's going to be this big consolidation. There's going to be a bunch of projects that cease to exist. And then there's going to be a few dozen projects that really survive and really bring to fruition the vision that we've always talked about, which is this digital economy where blockchain and assets like XRP are kind of sitting at center stage. But I know we are over 30 minutes, guys. If you had fun, you enjoyed this, feel free to just comment, whatever. I don't even know what you do to endorse Next Spaces. If you want to check out Merlin, click on the Merlin link below. Head on over to merlincrypto.com. You get a 30-day free trial. There you get to set up an opportunity to create a profit plan for yourself. So that way you know when this market inevitably goes back into some bullish territory, you can have a plan for yourself on where to take profit and things of that nature. And of course, it's 30 days free. So if you try it, you don't like it, you can cancel it. You'll never be charged. But Johnny, any closing remarks?
No, Abs, I think you kind of said it perfectly in terms of where we're heading, what's happening. I'm excited about where we're going. The FUD times are really when I've learned over the past 5 years that if I was more excited during the FUD times, I would have made more money because I would have been buying more. So I'm learning from that. And that's really kind of how I'm thinking about it from this perspective, because you could see the writings on the wall. Blockchains are here to stay, my friends. They're not going anywhere. It's just a matter of it's a matter of patience now, of just letting it to happen. I do see, I think we have one speaker, Abs, who came up. I believe Dagnum is here to
Joe,
speak.
what's up? Yeah, sorry, man. I caught you guys here at the end. Dude, fascinating space, and you guys are nailing it. Like, blood is in the water, and right now is not time to be fearful, right? So it took a dip. I'm with you guys 1,000%. But, like, look, all the smartest people in the room understand that blockchain isn't going anywhere. And yeah, we see all kinds of crazy speculations, right? You got Kathy Woods talking about Bitcoin at $1 million by 2030. I mean, it's all over the board, right? But regardless of any of that, even if her assessment is only 30% correct, let's say Bitcoin goes up to 200 or 300,000, right? So you're gonna 2 or 3x your investment from right here. I mean, how is that a bad investment? Could it dip a little bit more and go back and do the pullbacks of all the years past, where it does its 50% retracement, which would be right around where we're at now. It might go down to the old all-time high, which is 60,000. Nobody knows. Nobody has a crystal ball. Right? Absolutely nobody does. You could follow the best TA wizards on the planet, and half of them will say it's going to go lower. Half of them will say we're at bottom. But regardless, what everybody is saying is digital assets are here to stay. And if you want proof that digital assets are here to stay, just ignore Bitcoin, ignore Ethereum, ignore XRP, ignore all of that stuff. The writing on the wall should have been clear to everybody. Last year, I don't know if you guys talked about this in the space, but Google developed their own layer 1 network. So, like, that should be clear to everybody that, these people, understand that this is the future.
Yeah, Dagnum, thanks for your time. And you're right. We are wrapping up. You caught us at the end, but that's okay. I thought that was a great ad you did there. You're totally right. You could see the writings on the wall. The big players, Google, Microsoft, they're all going to be here. They all want to plan it. Facebook was trying to create their own coin years ago. I mean, the reality is it's only, for now, I look at it this way. It's not a matter of if anymore. It's just a matter of when. And that really depends on the big boys who get to, pull the levers, and they all got to sit around the table and agree. And once they come to agreements, then it's going to happen. And so all we can do, I feel, is buy the blood, buy the fear, buy when these opportunities come up. Again, not financial advice, can't get financial advisor, or not financial advisor, can't get financial advice. But to me, it just feels like if you look at any market, millionaires are made in a bear market, not a bull market. And again, you want to be buying when we're down. So I feel like this is just a great time to be doing that. The blockchain technologies, we know they're here to stay. They're all being built as we speak. These things will take time to get through, but the folks who invest in early, and a lot of us, you know what the biggest problem is? I'll wrap it up with this. Abs. A lot of us have been here for years now. In fact, we're so early. I know it feels like we're late. I get it. We're so early. It feels like we're like, what the hell's taking so long? Well, the problem is you just got to the party. Like, the party started at 7 o'clock on a Friday night, and you got to the party like Monday at 2 a.m. Like you're like 5 days too early, right? And that's really the situation. So with that said, Abs, I say we wrap this bad boy up. I don't see anybody else raising their hand to speak. Everybody's quiet tonight. I guess everybody's fearful. Well, listen, if you're using that fear and quietness to buy, if everybody's sitting at the computer buying right now, then that's good. But with that said, Abs, I'm going to kick it back to you to tell people where they can get Merlin, and we'll wrap this bad boy up.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And thank you to Dagnum as well. I think that's a really good point. The other thing I did just want to throw in here, Johnny, is that when you think about back in 2021 and 2020, I was talking to an old friend today, and they were going through some of their old Coinbase purchases. And they're like, I want to see where I originally bought Bitcoin. I want to see where I originally bought XRP. And some of the numbers, well, I guess since I'm not saying the person, it doesn't matter. I can say the numbers. They were buying 20-cent XRP. They were buying $30,000 Bitcoin. And so even during the pullbacks that we're going through now, it's those long veteran investors that are still deep into profit. And so I think everybody's goal should be, I'd like to be an investor in 2028 that's looking at the buys that I had in 24 and 25 and 26 and saying, wow, those were the times, my friend. So hopefully we can get there. Hopefully we can look back on that. And one thing I know for sure, the real crypto investors, the veterans, the people who are fully in on this space, they're going nowhere. They're going to be here. They're going to be here in 25, 26, 27, and 28. And so hopefully the people who are out there listening, you find yourselves in that category as well. But if you haven't yet, check it out, merlincrypto.com. You get 30 days completely free. You can track all your crypto in one location. Really no securities risk. It's a great way to track your portfolio while you're on the road. And on top of it all, create a profit plan. That way, when prices start to rise, you know where you're locking in that profit on the way. But thank you very much, everybody. Special thank you to Dagnum. Special shout out to KG, guys. We do appreciate each and every single one of you. And Johnny, I don't know if you have any closing remarks. If not, we'll wrap it up.
That's it, Abs. We're going to wrap this bad boy up. This was presented to you by Merlin, the smartest way to track your crypto. As Abs said, click on the link below, go to merlincrypto.com, sign up. You get a free 30-day trial. So there's no excuse for none of you to go and build your exit strategy. Bring all your coins together, 100% safe. We do not keep your keys, your coins, custody, none of that stuff. And we give it to you for free. And guess what? You can cancel right in the app. You don't have to call anybody up and ask to cancel. It's easy. We've made it as easy as possible, and we've even made it easier. In a couple of weeks, you're going to be able to create an exit strategy with just 2 clicks. So I encourage everybody to do that. And I want to say thank you to Abs. Thank you to Dagnum. Thank you to everybody who came to speak. And Abs, as always, greatest host in the world. Thank you for leading this message. And with that said, don't forget to check out, by the way, Good Evening Crypto Show. You can hear me and Abs there every single day. We're talking about crypto 2 times a day. You can catch Abs on there as we talk about why we love this space. With that said, guys, appreciate you all, and I'll leave you with a little Merlin jingle.
Thank you for tuning in to the Merlin Crypto Market Update located on the X app. I'm Abs, your host and Senior Engagement Officer at Merlin, and we hope you enjoyed this episode from our Merlin X Spaces. Remember, you can catch us live every other Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on the X app at Get Merlin Crypto. If you want to take your crypto tracking to the next level, don't miss out on our free 30-day trial at merlincrypto.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.